Hey there, YouTube. This is Fragments of Memory, aka the Armchair Philosopher. I was watching Black Energy News' video, Rapper Convicted of Murder, African Rappers Possessed by Black American Culture. This would prompt me to make a response. In her video, she was pointing out many Africans who are in the hip hop industry, not American born, American educated blacks, but African or blacks born on the born and bred on the African continent, or born and raised on the African continent, that have been influenced by the hip hop culture. And just hip hop is a very powerful and ubiquitous force in countries that are overseas, especially the continent of Africa. And within this video, she names names and she shows photos. There was even a photo she showed where one of the rappers, I don't have his name offhand, but he bore a striking resemblance to Lil Wayne. He had the braids, he had the whole look, stance, persona of Lil Wayne, and here he was supposed to be born on the African continent. Now, many of us as African Americans look to the African continent as the motherland, the cradle of civilization, etc., etc., etc. Kemet. Now, although I had a Christian upbringing, later in my mid to late 20s, I started looking at other faiths and other religions. And the reason I bring this up is that for a while I was involved in a religion that was very Afrocentric and black empowering, for lack of a better term. And I was always taught you got to look at the motherland, you got to look to Ethiopia, you got to look to Nigeria, you got to look to them because they seem to have it together. However, here she is talking about this African rapper who was convicted of murder. Now, according to Black Energy News, and I did a little research on this. I would be remiss to tell you that I didn't just take her word for it. But he was said to have had cocaine and heroin in his system. He wasn't having an African jub jub or bula bula, how she said, drug inside of them. It was a drug that, cocaine and heroin. These are supposedly the drug of choice of the American rock star. She did another video which shocked me. And there was no commentary from her. She just said black people influenced by hip hop culture, black Africans, I should say. And in this video, I saw a woman wearing hijab. These were young girls wearing hijab, the Muslim garb of a Muslim woman. And these women they looked as though they would be modest. If I had passed these women on the street, I probably would have said assalamu alaikum to you, sister, and kept it moving. And I would have looked at them in a very respectful way. And I would have addressed them in a very respectful way if I had just seen them walking down the street. But here they were in this video, and they shaking their behind like the young ladies here in America. They dropping it like it's hot. They popping their booty all in the air, and the little African dude is dancing behind her and grinding on her, and she grinding and gyrating, and I was like, oh my goodness. So when I see things like that, I realize that blacks in America are not the only ones that are being hypnotized by the hip hop culture, because hip hop is neither black or white. In fact, it's more controlled by white interests and money and whatnot. But this really just enlightened me that, number one, it made me discover that my perspective of the world is still somewhat a little bit constricted. And as I do more research, as I read more books, as I talk to more people, as I look at YouTube videos, I'm amazed at the degree to which hip hop has influenced culture. I mean, I can remember a news story about how Nicki Minaj was in the UK, and you had women pulling off their shirts and revealing their cleavage to Nicki Minaj, and then Nicki Minaj signing their cleavage. I mean, I could remember seeing news about this. The fact that over in the UK, the UK, we were supposed to be proper, quote unquote, with the pinkies out and drinking the tea. But here they were listening to the lewd lyrics of Nicki Minaj, They were over there listening to Lil Wayne and things like that. Even if you look over the African culture, and even though I understand that this is a reality, it's very different to see that in front of you. And I don't necessarily mean in person in the flesh, but I mean you see videos when you see these people that are supposed to be in Africa, and usually when we have African culture, Africans are depicted as being very regal, as very bookish and studious. And here it was, this dude is acting like Pookie Ray Ray and them on the block because they're listening to the same music. Erica Badu once in her song on her album America Fourth World War, she had a song where she basically said it's bigger than religion. And even in an interview, Erica Badu referred to hip hop as being sort of a religion. So, and just as religion has its effects, no matter what religious belief you follow, it's going to have its effects. And people who adhere to the religion are going to take on some of the characteristics of that faith, in part or wholly. And I see that way with hip hop. Hip hop is the exact same way. Hip hop does have that same impact as religion. People do seem to treat the hip hop artist or the rap artist as a sort of prophet or god. And he comes with glamour and bling and flash and supposed confidence. And in reality, it's all a show. I remember reading a book by the RZA of the Wu-Tang Clan, and of course the movie Man with the Iron Fist, which you should go out and see. I recommend it. Please do. Anyway, the RZA even said in movies and in music videos, the bling that they use is not real. It's fake. It just looks good on camera, so when the lights hit the bling, it shines and it looks more valuable than what it is. When in reality, it's just prop jewelry. It's just costume jewelry. And I've experienced being in plays back in high school and some when I was attending community college. And I've done scenes where we've had to make something real cheap look like it was something expensive, or make something that looked like a fake toy gun look like a real gun. So I've experienced plays like that. And just as they do it in a mere high school or college production, they do it too in film and television. And as much a fan I am, for example, I am a fan of the Star Wars trilogy, the original trilogy. And we know that there are no Jawas on the planet Tatooine, or no Jabba the Hutts, or no Wookiees running around, no. But with the makeup and special effects, they can get us to believe anything. But yeah, hip hop is a powerful thing. The media is a powerful force. And we do need to be careful what we expose ourselves to, what we listen to, and what we speak. And I mentioned this in another video in connection with the YouTuber Black Energy News. And I always pose the question, what are we feeding ourselves? What are we feeding our brains? There was a George Clinton song, or a Funkadelic song called Good Thoughts, Bad Thoughts. And he says, don't let any BS get up in here, because if it does, it'll rot your meat, i.e. your brain. So don't rot your meat. And don't let the hip hop culture and its influence, that's not reality. That's the fantasy that's being painted into your brain. And I'm not really trying to pontificate on my vid. I just want to throw my hat into the ring, so to speak, and just point out that I liked her vid because she really does get into it. I mean, when she names names, she's thorough. And it's amazing how many people from the Middle East, from the continent of Africa, from other nations, so-called developing nations, can tell you about the hip-hop scene better than a Black American, or better than an American, period. Well, that's my 2 cents. Thank you for tuning into YouTube. Peace, and I'm out.